And first question, you know what it's going to be. Can you say and spell your first and last name and tell them what you do?
Lucetta Elmer, Lucettaelmer, House Republican leader.
Mm-hmm. And so just for this first week, I'd just like to, give our viewers an idea of what's going to be discussed this first week. What are the key things that are going to be moving, and what are some key issues that you guys are really focused on?
Yeah. I think, this first week, one of the things that I would say I was a little frustrated with, or am frustrated with, is the fact that we're seeing some pretty contentious bills roll out as soon as today. And with a short session, 35 days, normally we have that gray period where it's just sort of an unspoken known that we don't do super contentious stuff the first few days because we don't have the time to allow the public to weigh in or to even sign up to add testimony for or against the bills. So today, for an example, we're already hearing a bill around gender affirming care. We have 2 gun bills up. We're hearing a bill on the kicker money. All of that on day one just doesn't seem like great governance to me.
Mm-hmm. And so is there a way to change that at all? Or is that just kind of how the state works? Like, would there be some kind of legislation that would make a short session longer, or would there be a limit to as many bills? Like, what do you see as a solution in that case?
Yeah, for sure. We can change however we want to change it, but precedent has always been that there's, like I said, there's just the unknown the way we do it, and that is that we usually wait a couple days and we fill those first 2 days with all the other bills. Most of the bills that are passed, they're pretty partisan, or bipartisan. So those real contentious ones you usually wouldn't see on day one. Mm-hmm. But that is the speaker is who gets to set the pace and set the rollout on that.
One quick thing, I'm just going to move this slide because I'm realizing it's in the room. So I'm just going to do that.
Okay.
But this is we're still going. Everything's okay. But I did want to ask too about the speaker and how this transportation rollout is going to be in terms of this bill that may change the date of the referendum. Right. I know that lawmakers who want to move this have to move it quickly. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Democratic lawmakers are going to push this as quickly as they possibly can, or are you guys going to try to slow roll it all? What can you guys do to stop this bill from moving?
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that voters have the chance to weigh in. They did such great work. They showed up in the middle of winter, right before Christmas, during the holidays. We got all those signatures. They want a say on it. And I think that it would be best that it rolls out in November like they thought it would and like it should. So I do expect the Democrats to try to move it as quickly as possible. They have to, right? Because the Secretary of State needs it by the end of this month. There are certain deadlines in order for it to make that May ballot that they absolutely have to do this as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. We want to have conversation. We want to make sure we're understanding it. And more than anything, we want it to be on the ballot, like I said, that gives the voters the most opportunity to vote, and we don't want it to be a political pawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally understand that. And I do want to just reference their reasoning why they want to move it to May, and just get your response to that, because they say that they need to know the budget situation sooner in order to plan for the next year ahead. Do you see that as reasonable, or what are your thoughts on that?
We are already having conversations around the budget, because when the people referred the bill, that means that on January 1st, those new taxes that we were going to get, they didn't come in. So we've already been having the conversation because that revenue isn't there. We already have to solve that problem. So May, that's 5 months into the year, we're needing to solve the problem. It doesn't matter if it's May or November. I think that's an excuse. I don't think that's reality. Mm-hmm. We are in those talks right now. We have to solve the budget that we're currently in, and then right away we have to move to the topic for 2027 and that budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of the budget, what are your thoughts on the budget cuts that may have to happen after we get that revenue forecast on the 4th? Yeah. And then also this idea of disconnecting, and your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. I've said it many times, we're one of the highest tax states in the nation. I don't think money is our problem. I think it's priorities. Obviously, Republicans, if we woke up tomorrow and we could be in charge, we would have a whole host of solutions on how we would reprioritize, and we would look at the core functions of government that we believe are the core functions of government, and that's where we would put the money. I do believe that we have the money to make a budget work without raising taxes or without raising revenue. So I absolutely think that can happen. As far as the disconnect, I've said this as well, that $888 million is coming to Oregon one way or another. It's either staying with the taxpayers in our pockets, and we get to choose how we spend it and how we invest it back into our economy, or it's going to the government so that they can put it into government programs. I'm a firm believer that we know how to invest our money, and I would rather it stay with the Oregonians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally understand that, but I do just want to ask too, what levers are you willing to pull in terms of those funding cuts? Like, I know there was a lot of uproar that there were some rumors about FFA being cut or something like that, and it's a very valuable program, but cuts do need to be made somewhere. So what are your thoughts on the certain levers that can be pulled and shouldn't be touched?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of slush. There's a lot of fat, whatever you want to call it. I know that I will have colleagues across the aisle that will vehemently disagree with that. But again, it comes to the priorities. FFA is a valuable program. I believe that the majority of Oregon is rural, and that's just a great program that we wouldn't want to see cut. But I think there are others that we could trim back. Right now, if we could define what those core principles are, if you're going to look at the ODOT budget, and because it's simpler to choose one portion than to talk about the whole entire state budget, but you could do it for education, you can do it for safety, whatever. But if we're looking at our roads and we say we only have $1 million and we have to figure out how to make sure that these roads are drivable, that we're not going to sink our cars into potholes, and that we have snow plows on the road, then even though there's many other things that we think are also good things that we could agree on, like bike paths. Those are good things. We want to make it as safe as possible for people who ride their bikes. But these roads are for cars, and we only have $1 million. We have to look at it that way, just like you or I would look at our household budget and just really, crack down and prioritize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to just set up a different camera, but I'm going to keep talking to you and keep asking you questions.
Sure.
And I do want to ask too about
federal
immigration enforcement. No, you can just keep talking there. I'll come right back there. Okay. But I do want to talk about federal immigration enforcement. There are going to be some bills that are already introduced right now that are changing the way the state responds to federal immigration enforcement and that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm kind of scrambling, just trying to get this done. Sorry.
You're good.
But I do want to ask, what are your thoughts on these bills from lawmakers? Do you think they'll be able to stand up to legal scrutiny? What are your thoughts on these federal immigration bills?
Sure. I think that most of them won't. I know they'll at least be challenged, which is going to cause delay and it's going to cost money. I also think that a lot of them are already laws. So again, I think it's posturing. I think it's political rhetoric. I think it's a tool being used to make a statement, and I don't think that's the best use of our limited state tax dollars.
Mm-hmm. Totally understand that. And what are your thoughts on, the situations that we keep seeing on the ground right now, not only here, but also in other states like Minnesota?
Yeah.
Just there's some graphic images coming out right now, some sad stuff to see. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from an empathetic level, from as a human, this is hard, and these are hard things to see, and my heart goes out to the families that have lost family members, and I think it's terrible that we're seeing these images across our TV screens. I don't wish for that to continue, and I certainly can understand why we need to have these conversations. I do think that I always want to stand with law enforcement and try to give them the tools they need to do their job. But I also recognize that I don't think there's anyone out there that wants to see blood in the streets, right? I mean, the job shouldn't be about that. The job is supposed to be about getting the worst of the worst off of our streets. So in Minnesota and Oregon, as sanctuary state laws prevail, I think it's challenging. We have a challenge with our law enforcement that can't work together to come in and do their job in a little more efficient way without having so much unrest and safety issues in our streets. I would love to see if we could work together, if that would alleviate some of that. Yeah.
Thank you. And then just last thing for you, I would just like to know, any final message for, your constituents and for our viewers about what they can expect this upcoming legislative session. And what they can expect this upcoming legislative session.
Sure. Yeah. Well, with 35 days, it's fast. It's going to go by very quickly. But as Republicans, we stand committed to really trying to hold the line. We know affordability issues are at all-time high here in Oregon, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make Oregon a safe place to live and an affordable place to live.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.